Welcome to Spiritually Unchained, the channel for the awakening ones or the already awakened. I am Jamhuri. Thank you for choosing me to guide you on your spiritual journey. Today on January 12th, 2024, I would like to talk about the prophetic voice of justice. The prophetic voice that rises during times of injustices in the world, as is happening now in 2024 and in the past year of 2023. And I'm going to address the energy and the characteristics of the prophet. And the prophet has a character that that confronts injustices as a spiritual responsibility, as his calling, part of his calling, part of his task. I have 7 characteristics of the prophets. 1, they are risk takers, and they understand exactly what's at stake when they open their mouths to address the situation at hand, because there is always a cost to pay. That's why very, very few people take that path, because it will cost them something. And when you see many people in the world who've lost their lives, it's because their prophetic voice has risen. 2, they are courageous. And why are they courageous? Because of the same reason. Because they have to speak that message. It will not make them peaceful until they speak out. And they will have earned their right to speak. And why is that? It's because they've gone through very, very tough times to prepare them for such times as those. They have gone through loneliness due to misunderstandings by their fellow human beings, their friendship circle, their families. They are considered the odd ones in the community because they think very, very differently from other people. And they live in their own world within the world. They don't fit in because they see things very, very differently. They've also experienced betrayals by people who are closest to them. I mean, life has served them very, very tough circumstances and situations. They've gone through pain. They've gone through the fire. And they have survived to tell. So that gives them the courage to speak and to take those risks. Number 3, they have the ability to challenge authority or on the state of the world. They're willing to stand and take that risk to challenge them, no matter the cost. And they do that when things are not okay in the world, spiritually or politically or morally. 4, the prophets are also poets. They have been gifted with a medium to express themselves. They can be musicians and or artists of all kinds. And that is their mode of expression. One of my favorite poets is King David of Israel, who wrote the 150 Psalms. And in very, very tough times, I have read the Psalms to calm me down, because David had a way of expressing exactly what was going on in the world and what was going on in the human psyche, the human spirit. And when you study his life in the Bible, in the 1st and 2nd Samuel, you will see that he was a man who had no rest in his life. He had difficulty after difficulty after difficulty. And even his family life was not it wasn't in good relationship with his elder brothers. He was the youngest one. And so I think that gave him resilience to speak whatever, to write all those Psalms, and they encourage us every day in this very, very age, even though they are more than 2,000 years old, these Psalms. So that is an example of a poetic prophet. Number 5, prophets tend to look weird physically, actually, the way they appear. They have their own style of fashion. They have their own norms, and they usually have interesting hairstyles. Okay, you can spot prophets. One day I saw a young man who had a particular look, and he had particular hairstyle. And I was just chatting with him. Then I asked him if he was a musician, and he said no. I asked him if he's a writer. He said no. I asked him whether he does any art. He said no. And I said, that's too bad, because you have it in you to be all those things. So I guess I could also say the prophet also, even though they talk tough, they also have the gift of encouragement to encourage other people. Number 6, they are comfortable loners. And why are they comfortable loners? Because they prefer solitude. Their brains are constantly creative. Their intuition is constantly receiving divine messages. So they're often drawing something, if they are artists that draw, or creating a song, or writing poetry. Their mind is just a channel of information. And these people are not only found within churches, by the way. If you listen to so many musicians, let's say, I'll give you an example. I don't remember one right now. And so when you understand the prophetic voice, you will recognize these people in the real world. And number 7, they are confrontative. They are fearless. Some have confronted kings and lost their lives for it. And if you read the Bible in the Old Testament, there are many that had to bring some really, really tough messages to them. Even King David himself, he was confronted by prophet Nathan when King David had stolen another man's wife, his general's wife. He arranged for him to be murdered in war so he could have his wife. And the prophet knew this, and he went and confronted him. And instead of David killing him the way kings often kill prophets, David was humble and he repented. But he still suffered the consequence of that decision he had made to take somebody else's wife. And I have to say right here that prophets are not perfect people, okay? They make mistakes. They are human beings. And in this case, we have an example of a prophet who was humble enough to see his mistake and to make things right. Another prophet that we also find in the Bible was John the Baptist. John the Baptist, he confronted a Roman ruler called Herod Antipas, and he was killed by him because Herod Antipas had married his brother's wife, and John just told him right on his face, And he faced the consequences. He got beheaded. There's a big problem that I encountered with Christians who believe that the gift of prophecy is no longer valid. And they say that since Jesus came, then everything is fine. And they take a scripture that a follower of Jesus called Paul, his disciple, wrote about things. He wrote about love, and he talked about if there are prophecies, they will cease, and so on. But if you take that passage out of context, of course, you would think, okay, prophecies are done with. But it is incorrect. It is incorrect. Prophecies are alive and well right now, and prophets, of course, they are alive and well and doing their work very, very well. And Christians also, many of them think that prophecy is about foretelling of future events. But that is part of prophecy, but it is not the only one. Okay, that's the easiest part, to foretell, because the divine creator has a way of letting the prophets know. There's also a scripture I read in the Bible that says before God does something in the world, he lets his prophets know about it first. That is so amazing. That's why you can, in your intuition, you can see things before they happen. And many, when they express that future coming events, people laughed at them because the present events did not match what the prophets foretold. But they came. These events came to pass. So that's an easy part to be laughed at, or whatever, people to dismiss a prophet is the easy part. But the hard part is when you have to do those things that I said from number 1 to 7, confronting a situation, taking a risk, being courageous. And I always said, woe unto, okay, I gotta say one thing, that many people have different kinds of spiritual gifts. And I'd like to say often, woe unto those that have a prophetic gift. Because you could be hated by people in your community. They can dismiss you, they laugh at you, they ridicule you, and you could end up losing your life because of that. I think other gifts, spiritual gifts, are a bit easier to have or to handle. Jesus himself also had a prophetic characteristic in his life. He had all the spiritual gifts in him. And the way we see the prophetic voice of Jesus coming through was when he challenged the elite and the religious leaders. Those he exposed their hypocrisy, those that misled people. And look what happened to Jesus. Okay, he was crucified. He was crucified. So why am I sharing this information today? The prophetic voice is alive and well. And we are hearing that voice right now in 2024. It's only January. Today is January 12th. But let's say you go on YouTube and listen to all those voices that are addressing situations in the world today. Wow. It's fire in there. There's so much courage. People are speaking of things that they could not have spoken about in 2022 or at the beginning of 2023. Addressing very difficult issues in the world. I'm addressing this too because I know that I have a prophetic gift myself. I was very shocked that I address very difficult issues in my life. And I've done that. And in 2021, that was my toughest. I got into a very tough time with my employer due to the medical measures at work. And this confrontation affected my mental health, my emotional health. It really destabilized me because, it's not easy to do that. Absolutely not. And I was the only one in my workplace that did that. And this situation that caused me a health issue, because it was very exhaustive. After it took me a year to recover. Actually, I'm still recovering. And I ended up resigning from my job because I could not go back into that situation. And things had changed also in my life. Actually, that was a very major shift in my life. And so I had to look at everything in a broad sense. And it looked like also that chapter of my life had ended. And right now, this very, very moment as I'm addressing this, because I've been thinking about it today and I came to record this message, I'm shocked that my focus on this channel has shifted a little bit. And my focus is on the Israel-Palestinian conflict. I talk about this in my other channel. I have another channel called African Living Abroad. And I realize that my voice rises during times of war, during times of injustices. I get so depressed if I don't find a way to express myself. For example, I was a student, university student during the Gulf War, and later on, during and that war really depressed me. I got sick of it, and I didn't even know that I was depressed until my roommate pointed that out to me, and it took me a long time to heal. Another war that depressed me was the war in Kosovo in Europe in 1999. And what I did during those difficult times, because I did not feel like I had a voice to express myself, to do what I'm doing now with YouTube. Right now, the possibilities of social media, you can express yourself. But during that time, my voice was not yet developed well, and my confidence was low. I was confused. I was a younger person. But I prayed a lot and wrote songs. Songs came to me to pray them. Oh, another time too, there was the Tiananmen Square in China. Okay, that's another issue too. And I had, so it really messed me up. And there are some really beautiful songs that came from that time that I was praying for those people. I was singing for those people in those songs in China, in Kosovo, and in the Gulf War. And I sang them to calm myself. But later on, I found that these songs serve us, or our art serve us first, and then when we are comforted, then we are open to share with others. And so I was able to share them on stage when I had the opportunity to do so during that time. Right now in 2024, January 2024, I feel that my voice has matured and my confidence is good, and I have YouTube to express myself through and to voice the information, the downloads that I'm getting. And I feel pulled to address the Israel-Palestinian war, because I realize, I've been checking myself. Why am I shifting? Why am I talking about these things? It's controversial, it's all that. So, but then today, I realize that it's not politics you're talking about. I'm talking about injustices. And that is all the prophets of the past, they talked about injustices. It's a spiritual duty to address injustices. It's godly to address injustices. And knowledge was revealed to me about the whole situation. And it became very, very clear to me what's going on. So I might be sharing both in my African Living Abroad YouTube channel with a different style than here, but the content is the same. So when I understood this knowledge that has been revealed to me, I realized I'm not deviating from my spiritual path. Even in my other channel, I focus on mainly social issues. And every now and then, when I listen to them, there is a touch of, spiritual overtones. And that's why I created 2 channels, because I was talking to people that are not necessarily spiritual. And then I created this to speak to spiritually aware people. So I thought I'd share this content today in case you wonder about my shift of focus at this time. And this is still spiritual work that I'm doing. My spiritual mentor says to go with the flow, to allow for intuitive flow and to be flexible, because we are vessels of the divine, and we're given messages, and whenever we're given messages, we got to be ready to express them. These are interesting times, and things are shifting rapidly as we enter the age of Aquarius. For those of you who are familiar with this, some of you are into astrology, you know what I'm talking about. And if you are just awakening right now, this may sound quite unfamiliar, but I won't get into it. But this is the age of revelation that we've just entered, in January. It's been coming slowly, and now we're at the height of it. And that's why, listen, you go on YouTube. I believe if you're on this channel, you're no longer following mainstream media. And all the independent, reporters are on YouTube speaking things the way they actually are. I think that's where the prophetic voices are expressing themselves. And so this age of revelation, this age of Aquarius, is the crumbling of societal systems of conditioning the people as we have been conditioned in the past hundreds and thousands of years. So what we are experiencing right now is the chaos, the chaos. And my favorite spiritual mentor says, before something new is born in life, a new system, a new era, there's chaos first before order, because the old systems have to go. I truly hope, or I really hope that you are okay. Do not be afraid, because this chaos will pass. It will pass. Be patient for a little while longer. Focus on the positive things that you see happening around you. Ground yourself in nature. Nature is very healing. And even if it's winter, like I go for walks to where I live right now, it's winter, and I find a good day when it's not windy, and I go for a walk and it really cleanses me, my mind and my body, my mindset, everything. I feel renewed when I get back home. Find time to meditate or pray. Meditation and prayer is the same thing. And listen to affirmations, that encourage you. Also, there's so many kinds of affirmations that you find on YouTube that you can listen to throughout the day, and there's some that help you to fall asleep. You will find them also on this channel, because I've created some myself that helped me during that time in 2021 up to now, when I was transitioning from a tough life, chaotic life, when my life was beginning to come into order. I think that was the chaos of that time, but my life is coming to order. And through the experiences and the spiritual downloads, I created also affirmations. And surrender is one of those things. Surrender your pain, surrender your negativity, and just free yourself, make your life lighter. And if you practice yoga, that also is another calming tool for you. It helped me a lot. Some of you know about yoga, some don't, but when the time is right, you will know about it. You might also want to Google it if you're curious, or go on YouTube. So I would like to say, we will get through this chaotic life. Yes, we will. We will get through this. Stay strong. So in the meantime, stay spiritually unchained. And I'll talk to you very soon.